Township to order, Wednesday, April 24th, 2013. We'll stand for Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. I'd like to add the minutes of the meeting being taped to aid in the preparation of those minutes. At this time, Helen, we will have the recognition of visitors.
Wendy, Reese, Linda Gauss, Bob Gauss, Bob Johnson,
No, I come to see you after the next.
Nancy Valdez.
I do. I brought along some handouts, some flyers that I thought maybe you could post on the bulletin board as a community service about low-cost services from the Humane Society, vaccination, microchip, spay, neuter, and so forth. So I brought a flyer. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, Lisa?
Okay, thank you.
Craig?
Very quickly, hopefully, everyone received their 2013-2014 subscription in the mail. We tried to make it stand out a little bit, the discount for Penn and Wheatfield Townships, and the specific text was, "Thank you to the residents of Penn and Wheatfield Townships. You and your municipal leaders provide direct public support to Duncan County EMS Incorporated. In consideration of the support, residents of these two municipalities are welcome to a cost savings of $10 per subscription, keeping the 2013-2014 subscription rate the same as 2012-2013, as we've
Well, not this letter, but-
months. So that did come to fruition. It was included. Hopefully they got out in the mail, but every time working with the post office, it's a new and different experience.
Okay.
As always, we
Should've
appreciate your
come to you,
ongoing
but
support. Should there be any need
no
from us.
remember seeing that.
Thank you.
Craig, I saw your letter of offer from your volunteers to go down there and help clean up the cat litter in those bags. If someone makes contact with me, I'll be glad to take them down and show them where they're at. And if they care to bag them up, well, we'll see what we can do about disposing.
The group seems very eager to help. We actually did a 2.5-hour cleanup, give or take, on Saturday in Penn. We hit all 3 parks, and not quite as much refuse as we expected, but we did a dozen bags or so between the 3 parks on Saturday, so it was a good experience. And it was a little disappointing. We only had 3 people that had done Canada Dress, 4 people that had done Canada Dresses in the group. The rest were Millerstown, Dickusburg, and Newport, I believe. People from out of town that came to help with that. It was no real promotion other than through Facebook and a network that was created post Mayor Thompson's comments, so it was a very positive experience as a result of that.
Rich, in regards to that, is there any liability to the township if we allow to bring down there? Should we maybe in that area down there where they have all the cat litter and all the bags and stuff they offer to clean up? Maybe signs there, the work area ahead?
Just for safety reasons,
Yeah,
yeah, but
okay.
the question of is there liability for a
Good, yeah.
volunteer group to go do that, the answer is no.
Oh, okay. So give me a call and I'll take you down and show you where it's at.
I'll follow up with the group. Thank you.
Appreciate your offer.
Okay.
Just give me a copy of that.
I'm going to make sure this is a copy. Jean Hollenbeck, Paul? Okay. Stanley?
Yeah, I went up and need the room that we asked for last month.
Okay.
It's a light ballot, and I couldn't get the common supervisor with a good date to show, so there's no use having.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fuller? Where did he go? There you are. Yeah.
I was wondering if the board would give comment, or care to give comment on the new $35,000 truck that Warner bought for the fire company.
The $35,000 truck that Warner bought for the fire company.
If you're referring to what I hear, it's in regards to the chief's police vehicle, I think maybe that's what you're hearing. How they fund out and what they do and do their work internally with their own internal thing is something that's outside of the control of this township. The monies that we give them, Jim, are already tied up for their rescue via, which you'll see in part of our minutes here. If you take a look at it, that was guaranteed from this township out of their capital reserve for so many years for that. So that the money that we donated to them goes towards that for their capital reserve for that. I understand, to the best of my knowledge, that they got those funds from other means and not from our funding. So if what they do internally, whether we like it or we don't like it, is their internal organization has done that. Nothing township or any other municipality can say you can't do it, the way I understand it.
I just thought in that they owe over 700,000 in debt, that it was kind of funny that they came up. I wrote a check out for $45,000 the self-same week from Wheatfield that they bought the vehicle. And most of us, when we owe that kind of money, we're very careful how we spend it.
Yes. Then, I made that clear at the last month's meeting in the minutes here where our money went. I had signed papers to it that guaranteed the lending institution that that had to go towards the rescue vehicle, as that was part of our conditions when they got the increase for their capital reserve. That's what it'd be used for. So, if they manipulated or anything was done illegal, we hope not. But that's their internal workings and nothing that we could stop or do anything about.
Thank you.
Henry, along those lines, did you get a copy of their 990?
Yeah, we do.
Huh? Yeah, we do, yes. Yeah, we sure we do. Yes, Helen, we get a copy of the fire company's 990, don't we?
Yeah, normally, yeah.
Normally, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Since we're talking about the fire company, did they use up their gas that you were, or their diesel?
No, they haven't touched that yet for the appropriation. They haven't, we talked about it, how to do it, how it's covered, and how it's tracked, and so far they haven't asked for it.
Not any of it?
Not any of it,
Okay.
Lisa, none.
Didn't you have a deadline of June or something on that?
Mm,
No?
No,
No, that was when our new fuels contract will come out, that we'll be bidding that again. And that takes place in June, does it
that's
not?
in process now.
A process now through CoStar to buy our fuel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And if the price goes up, their allotment was based on.
What we have now.
What we have now.
I don't know
That would be
off the top of my
only thing.
head.
That was based on what we have now.
Okay.
And so if the price goes up, well, they just get less gallons for that amount of money.
Okay. Tim McKinney?
On the agenda.
Okay. Mark Frisch?
Nothing right now?
Mrs. Frisch? Scott Mostella?
No.
And Mr. Peters? Okay. Who did- Kim? I think that's it.
Okay.
And-
Invoices and expenditures? For you for objection.
Under
or
conditional
approval?
use, he's doing a recycle center.
Anything out of the ordinary?
We were able to do a transfer from Morristown over to Pliget in the amount of $75,000 due to checks coming in for taxes. We also had a transfer from Pliget over to our capital reserve account.
For the police department.
Yes, on behalf of the police department.
Being on, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, the orders be drawn, the bills be paid.
Okay, I'll second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Hey, treasurer's report for period March 28th, April 24th. Anything you have to offer, Christine?
No,
On your-
have no
different- no?
CDs
Okay.
due right now, not until, I believe, June.
I'll make a motion that we accept the treasurer's report, subject to audit.
Motion been made. I'll second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
One thing under there, I'd like to write the check out for the donation of $40,000 to the fire company. We normally do it around this time of year.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve that donation?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion's made. I'll
Second.
Second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Question, while you're in the chair, what's the balance of the capital reserve?
She has it right there in front of her.
We do,
Just a second.
and the CDs.
See, we've paid our truck out of that this year, didn't we, Al?
Yes, we
Yep.
did.
Yeah. Now, our
And
new
it's hard
truck's
to go.
paid for that we bought out here several
Yes.
years ago. Then that come out of it, and that's about, that's the only thing we've taken out of it.
That's the only thing our side has taken
Our
out.
side is taken.
Police got some grant money that they transferred over that we paid out of.
Okay.
We're adding the CDs and the liquid fuels
I
together.
want to ask a question, it's been a while since I've been here, I just was wondering whatever happened to the allocation or the adjustment for the building that you had made to reduce the capital reserve.
Well, that was if there isn't enough monies in the general funds or the regular budget to do that. I just asked for additional, Gene, that may not happen.
No, I understand that, but basically I thought it would be an allocation to set that aside. It actually would reduce the balance of the capital reserve because you actually encumbered it. That's what provoked my question.
He's thinking we said, okay, we have, example, $100,000, $20,000 for the building. We'd put that $20,000 so we'd have $80,000 in.
Yeah,
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was encumbered, remember we had talked about that?
Yeah, you mentioned it, yeah. And I don't think that was done, Gene. That money's still laying there, huh? That was not done. Okay?
Got the total?
246, 793, plus or minus a couple pennies.
He didn't hear you.
246, 793.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, minutes. Before you for March 23rd, 2013. And you have before you minutes for March 27th, 2013. Are there any objections or corrections to the minutes?
Make a motion that we adopt or accept the March 23rd, March 27th minutes.
Okay, motion's been made.
I second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Highway report. Helen, we have before us the bids.
Yep. We have the 2A bid first. Let's see here. The low bid was Hemp Brothers with $21,500.
Mhm. Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the low bid from Hemp Brothers for the 2A aggregate.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay, number 8, we did 2 alternates. We did with delivery and without delivery. Okay, with delivery, it is National Limestone. Without delivery, it's Hemp Brothers.
I'd like to explain to the people here as to why that was done. Take a look, you're always seeing whether you can produce something or buy something on a cheaper scale, whether you can haul the material yourself or whether you can have it with a delivery price on it. And some of them here, the trucking gets pretty heavy on it, and I thought maybe we could take a look at it. But if you take a look at what you're delivering for stone and the price, and I looked at it, we can't haul it ourselves for that. So that was why it was bid that way for delivery. And we asked for also on the 2As. Oftentimes we'll get a bid in, you gotta be careful. They come and there's a surcharge on for the delivery of the truck. To bid them with the delivery charge put on the truck. You often get we got it again this year with our E3 oil. You know, get a guy come in, he's low number, but then he's got a surcharge there from the time he leaves the plant back for $90 an hour.
Yeah.
And doesn't make him the low man. So tried to make sure that it was apples to apples this year. And that being the low bid with National Limestone, they had a contract with us several years ago. They're back down as the low bid. I make a motion that we accept the bid from National Limestone for our number 8 stone.
With delivery.
With delivery, yes.
I'll second that.
How much was it, Henry?
$2,650.
Thank you.
Calling for the question.
Question?
I'm calling for the vote.
Where are you calling for the vote? Okay. I was going to answer Stanley on something there in regard to that. These are bid on an estimate of tons, you know, nothing that is totally used. I mean, you bid something for 2,000 tons, if you only use 1,000 tons. These numbers that you're getting this bid for the total amount will be less of an expenditure to the township because you never fully use everything that you bid. And there's no penalty or nothing for that, Stanley. So these might sound like high numbers, but we may only spend half of it. Okay, made a motion, call for second.
I seconded.
Okay, second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. E3 oil bid,
The low man this time is Specialty Emulsions, and at $15,610. That includes delivery.
okay,
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from Specialty Emulsions for the E3 oil, $15,610.
okay.
I second the motion.
Second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, for those interested, that's 7,000 gallons.
Okay.
Went down this year, believe it or not. Oil is one thing for everything, and the price of the roads out come out down from last year.
How many bids did you get on the, like,
On which one?
huh?
On which one?
Well, say, like, all of them, like the 2A, the number.
Well, it differed. It differed. 2A, I got 2, 4, 6. Number 8, I got 2. 6 on E3.
You got
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong way. Yeah, 5 on number 8, sorry, I was reading the wrong way. And 5 on the E3 oil.
6.
6? I can't count. 6 on E3. E3 for specialty. Specialty was $223. The last one is butcher shop.
Okay. We have before us our butcher shop road bid. I had the pre-bid meeting with the contractors. There was one showed up and one couldn't make it. I met with him 2 days later. Brought both of them in here in front of Helen, so everybody got to hear the same thing. So it was apples to apples, the same quantities, same discussion as what the township's part would be in it, and et cetera. So it was okay. We had 2 bids, one from Hammaker East and Martin Paving, and that's from Borough Line of Butcher Shop to 849. And that bid come in as Hammaker being the lowest for $34,505.
We had 3 alternates on that one.
What's that?
We had 3
Yes,
alternates.
we had it alternates because of not knowing when we bid it, at what the price of oil was gonna be, et cetera, and according to our budget, if it would have been excessive, we would have taken it from 849 to Hoffman Road and leave the worst section of it down coming into Duncannon, and hopefully that section from Foutsy down is the worst piece of the road. The rest of the road is in pretty good shape. Time to seal it up, you get another 8-10 years out of it. And that's the purpose of doing that at the present time, before it's starting to get ahead of the ball instead of behind the ball on the deterioration of our roads. And if you break that into that amount of money into 8-10 years, we can't maintain that road for that amount of money ourselves. So it will be well worth it when they do that in preservation of that road.
We need
Okay,
motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the low bid from Hammaker East for Butcher Shop Road for the amount of $34,505, and call them for a second.
I'll second that.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay,
We have a resolution to adopt here.
yes.
Price adjustment by bituminous materials, and this is, we've put the resolution in, didn't used to do this, but we do now. The contractors claim that if we put the resolution in, they'll bid low. If they don't, I mean, this is the name of the game. If they gotta speculate on what the price of oil is going to go up, naturally it's a little bit more. So with the resolution on the cost index, you know the cost index of the oil at the present time, and if there is an adjustment on it, we have to make the adjustment within our margin of our 10% on our bids. So I make a motion that we adopt the resolution for the oil escalation clause for the contract.
I'll second that.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
That's all I have under your report.
Okay. Oh. Regards to the highway report, got a full page. We've got our equipment off the trucks. All the snow plows have been desalted, sprayed down, and oiled and put away for the winter. The augers and everything has been hung up, dry in the building, ready to go. Took a look at what our needs might be for it next year. We need several pins. We got some pins that we need to replace to make sure that we have necessary pins. We always have to have a couple extra. Culverts and catch basins. We spent an awful lot of time on this particular item the last 2 weeks. Culverts, you take a look at them out here, we get calls, and there's a hole down around them. There's a hole down around our catch basins. And you go out and you fix it up and you take a look at it. And finally, I got tired of that problem within the last 2 years. And we went around and 36 catch basins have been put in the township in the past. They never cemented them, they never sealed the pipe, they never put them in. They just busted a hole in through the side of the catch basin, stuck the pipe in, put a 15-inch pipe in a 2-foot hole. Water don't go out the pipe, runs underneath it, runs down from the top, runs in around. So Tom, Steve spent last week and a half down in every catch basin, and we can possibly check in Penn Township there, now cemented and sealed up. Hopefully we correct that problem, because we've had places where there's new roads put in where they sunk right around them, and we've repaired them the best we can. Hopefully we got to the bottom of the problem. Found one more today working out on Linton Hill Road up from Mr. Sample's place out there. So we found another one today. And in the process, they were all cleaned out and all the debris cleaned out around them. But we found those culverts, you know, in Susquehanna Hills, Faculty, Linton Hill, Barnett Drive, Huffman Road, wherever we looked, wherever they were installed in the past, that's what was done with them. So we correct that. We don't do that at the present time. We haven't on any one we put in ourselves, so we've corrected those other ones. Hoffman Road, done a lot of more brush and vines cleaning while we were out there, working there, right there at those catch basins. And Faculty, brush and vines down to Samples Road down over there. You can't even get in close with the mower. Working on that. We'll soon have that cleaned up. We'll soon, hopefully, have plenty near all of our roads trimmed back so that we don't need to fuss with that with this summer on the new growth. We're ready, just a little bit more growth. You can see us out there with a roadside mower, mowing our roads. We're gonna, since we're not gonna be as tied up as much, we hope to get ahead of that this year. Replaced the signs in Valley Street down here. They were the time frame signs down here. It says when you can turn into Valley Street and when you can't down here. They were no longer legible, and the new high intensity signs were put back up, put us back in compliance with the ordinance. for those signs. We've got, looking at which area for the line painting, and I'd like to do some line painting this year. One of them will be an immediate follow-up after butcher shop is tarred and settles down. I need to get the lines back on that and see what our budget allows, to see if we have some extra places where we need line painting. Our first E3 oil has arrived, repaired small spots on Butcher Shop Road coming down from Fouch's Creek Road, and we will follow up all over as the weather permits. One thing that everybody's interested in, we had our first meeting with PennDOT the other evening in regards to the bridge closure down here. They displayed on, with the engineer and with PennDOT representatives. We met down to Duncannon Borough. Emergency services were there, fire companies were there. Greg, you were there. And took a look at the detour and the plans that they're making on this. And I'm glad that we got proactive on this thing and brought it to their attention, or this would have got shoved down our throats real quick. So they are planning on doing this next year. They did not give us a knockdown date. They say it will be 3 months. If it's done less, it will be open. But the time frame may affect some school buses. So Monday morning at 8 o'clock, we will be having a meeting with Roar Bus and school down here in regards to it, because it may affect some of the routing. And we will be taking a look at where they're going to put the detour signs up and try to keep some of this local traffic from using roads where everybody has a concern. If they're going to get clogged up, they're going to get boxed up coming in and out of Ann Street, coming in Cumberland Street. And the intention is, of PennDOT, is to put signs out here to support the township that they must go where they designate the detour. And as much as I can tell you about that, I'll give you a report as we get the information, when they're going to do it and how they're doing it. One thing it did bring up, they have a concern, and a big concern is how they're going to relocate emergency services. Greg, you're involved with that. In the process, I asked if they're going to do that, and they know that they got a traffic control problem, would there be any additional funds, by golly, in regard to extra police protection for that time? If we have somebody, a call, a court, or whatnot, we should during that period of time. And they said they'd take a look at that. The possibility is great, is it not?
Yes, it is.
And looks like that they will fund us. The indication was that they would help us with that we could put 2 officers on during that time frame that the bridge is shut down. In case we got one, may not be round the clock, especially in the daytime traffic areas. PennDOT has made an indication that they'd be willing to help us with that. So that was a good vibe, and I see how it comes out here come Monday morning. Other than that, I have nothing else underneath the road report. We will soon be out here working on some of the things. The weather gives us a little break, and time to get busy, is it not, Tom?
Yep.
Yes.
Just a question, if I may. Do you have, there's some damage done to Shermanata Drive on the lower end between our driveway and the main road, between
Yes.
our driveway and the Bloomfield Road?
Mhm.
I don't know if it's just washed out or it's broken, but it's pretty treacherous, so.
And what we're looking for, like I said, is a little weather.
Okay. I didn't know.
What's that, Tom?
I just said about it today.
They just said about, we were just talking about
I
it
just wanna
today.
make sure
We got
we're
our new
ready.
oil and got our stone. We just got it in out here. Just as soon as this weather breaks, we'll be there.
Very good, thank you. I just wanted to make sure you were
Yeah,
aware.
yeah, we're aware. We're just trying to get to those spots. Okay? That's all I have on the highway report. Penn Township Planning Commission.
Okay, the first thing I have is Gary Schaefer's waiver request. He's requesting a waiver of the subdivision land development plan for a small sliver of his land to be transferred to his neighbor. You have the recommendation of the, oh God, of the Planning Commission. I'll fix the letter. They're asking to, recommending you waive the requirement for the subdivision plan and the property's deeds be drawn for an addition and subtraction of the land, and that our solicitor should review the deeds for confirmation that the non-conforming use is not being increased. And that would be the lot size.
Mhm.
It's minor.
Okay, just for the information for the people involved out here, as I personally took a look at that small lot out there. It has a little wedge there along the road, squares his property off, and the neighbors like to put a fence up. If they put a fence up, it pins him in against Long Delville Road that he can't even get in with his mower to mow it, and he's willing to give it to those people. So it's nothing that affects any, just a little wedge from here to the wall. 15, 30 feet maybe wide at the one point, goes down to nothing. So he brought a copy of his deeds and whatnot. I looked at them, saw them, and he presented that to the planning commission. So therefore, I make a motion that we waive the requirement of the subdivision plans and that they follow up with the solicitor should review the deeds for confirmation. Okay?
What am I confirming? Increasing non-conforming size is a good thing.
No, one lot, Mr. Schaefer's lot would be decreased in the non-conforming size
Oh, okay.
by whatever the amount of the sliver
It
is.
says the solicitor should review the deeds for confirmation that a non-conforming is not being increased.
Well, it would be.
Non-conforming increases are good. They really mean non-conforming decrease.
Decrease.
Well, it's
That
gotta
was
be,
their motion.
it's gotta be, if they're taking something off a non-conforming lot and giving it to somebody else, it's gotta by its very nature be a decrease.
They should have it marked on here what the piece is, but it's very.
No, he didn't leave that with the planning
It's that little
commission.
wedge right there. It's gonna be given to where Jakey Sands used to live.
So I will second your motion.
Okay, motion made.
Question, does the motion need to be changed?
There really needs to be no review by me, because there is it's a
Okay.
natural decrease. No matter how you look at it, and if you want me to review it and charge the township for review, which is really unnecessary, there's no need to do it, to be honest with you.
That's why you're sitting here to straighten this out, Rick.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Who's gonna straighten me out?
Okay, motion made.
I second it.
Second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay, the next is the Perdix Fire Company Eagles Nest waiver request. They requested a waiver of the land development, of a land development plan. The planning commission recommended that you deny the waiver request due to the conditional use requirement, because that's another thing that on Lenny's zoning application, or the response. Due to the conditional use requirement for equipment sales, sewer hookup, stormwater, and clarification of all uses. When they put their use application in, Lenny gave them 3 things they had to do. One, do a land development plan, do a conditional use, and show that the plan must show compliance with section 1623 of the zoning ordinance, which is the conditional use section. I'm sorry, no, that's not that. That's the,
Farming construction.
yes, farming construction, what's that called? The additional requirements, Max?
Those would be the specific requirements for that type
Okay.
of use in the district.
Yeah, so this was their,
Specific requirements.
this was their first step. They were trying to get a waiver for the land development plan under the saldo. The planning commission's recommending you deny that.
Do I hear a motion to concur with the planning commission's recommendation?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion been made. I'll second. All those in favor give their consent by saying Ayes have it, so ordered.
Anyway,
Yes.
then what happens next? One question I have, had Mr. Swope renewed his lease down there with all of this taking place?
That's Mr. Who?
Mr. Swope, Eagles Nest,
Renewed what?
his lease, continued his business.
He hasn't with the township.
Yeah, no, that's
he
what I'm
said
wondering,
if
that's
he
why I'm
had.
wondering why we can't put the same thing back in or where we're at with that.
That's the
question.
conditional use portion of it. Lenny's saying basically that, the new person would like to sell commercial equipment, that is a conditional use under the commercial district.
Okay, I think Lenny had a misunderstanding of what was going on. 'Cause,
That's according to the
I know what.
application.
Yeah.
According to the application, Bob.
Right, that's the way the thing was presented to be written up, and that was unfortunate. But it was gonna be the same business go back in, because he was negotiating with Mr. Swope to take over his business. That's where and then wherever the language come in there for that conditional use and that type of thing is,
The conditional use is for the construction sales.
yeah.
That's what
and
that would be for.
Because, and that's what I say is that we had the same situation before with Mr. Swope, so that's what, where we're totally confused with it. Okay. I know
That's what the
you're
zoning
caught in the
officers.
middle- You're caught in the middle with it, if you've done your best with it, but here we are, so now we'll see what the next steps are. What is your recommendation, how do we get somebody in there now? What's the holdup, or what's our option?
Do what Lenny said on his letter to you, from that application. You have the option to appeal his decision, which is going to the zoning hearing board.
Now,
It's too
you-
late to
the
do
negative
that.
on the other side of it.
No?
It's too late to do that, you gotta do that within 30 days.
Okay. Too late for that. He knows.
Okay,
Oh,
new
then
submission,
what are they?
we do a new submission?
And just comply with what the zoning officer said needs to be done.
He says comply with what the zoning officer says needs to be done.
All right, so we'll talk to Lenny and go from there.
Okay, Warden Property, Stone Mill Estates, time extension?
Yes, they are asking us to accept a time extension for 1 month until May 29th.
Okay, I make a motion that we grant that extension for 1 month.
I second the motion.
Motion made, second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay, the next thing came from from Alpha Consulting, who is with Stone Mill Estates. They are requesting that we do a modification of our subdivision land development ordinance to dealing with private streets and right-of-ways for accesses on how many lots on a private road. Planning Commission voted not to modify.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we concur with the planning commission, uphold our ordinance no more than 3 on a lot.
and I'll second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
And that's all I have under Planning Commission.
Okay, you have before you the zoning report.
Okay, yeah, you have his report first.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward. The email and the research that he did on March 25th, you have a copy of the email there for your information. It's easier that way than explain it. The other thing is Mr. McKinney is requesting a variance to place a garage on his property. You have the Planning Commission's recommendation. Your choice is to be a party or not to be a party of the variance.
Okay, Helen, I looked at that plan today and the simplification of it there, and I'd let the zoning board, hearing board do their job, and I would recommend that we be not a party to it.
Okay?
Is that your motion?
That's a motion.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion made in second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay, that's it.
Storage Enforcement Officer report.
He had no activity this month.
Okay.
We're done.
Penn Township Park and Rec Board report.
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to thank you for your approval in cutting a check for Penn Fire Company for the donation of $100 for them coming up and helping us. And the Park and Rec would also like to thank the Supervisors for their support, ongoing support, and for maintaining our equipment and things that need to be fixed that you take care of, you and Tom, the road crew. I just wanted to thank you. We are having a senior day, May 3rd, from 11 to 2, a spaghetti dinner. We will be having another kids' night out, June 22nd, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we do have a person of interest that would like, in my report, I gave you a copy, that would like to come up and hold a craft fair on June 1st in the big pavilion. And she had interest in closing the basketball court for that event. I did call her today and I left her a voicemail, and I did invite her to come to the meeting this evening to get any questions that she had answered or any questions that we had answered. But she apparently wasn't able to make it.
Karen, I have a question on your senior day, May 3rd. What's the time again on that?
Senior day, that,
11 to 2.
11 to 2 o'clock.
Okay, I thought that's what you said, thank you. Now, on the report, it says 12 to 4.
Yeah.
That's where I was confused.
Anything else, Karen?
Yes, regarding the June 1st, would we be able to close that for parking? Because they do
basketball
They
field.
do have 3 games up here.
The basketball
The
court.
basketball court itself.
That's what they're asking for on this application for the use, that they close.
She's requesting to see if it could be closed for her event.
You want to park vehicles on the basketball court, is that what I'm understanding?
No.
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 Put vendors there.
Okay.
Put vendors there.
I have a question. Are we charging this lady for the use of the property? Is this a donation or a nonprofit organization? Or?
We are going to bring it to our next meeting, Park and Rec Board meeting, and discuss a flat fee, a charge for the vendors.
This is something that you're doing, to earn money for?
No, it's their organized event, it's not.
They're organized.
Mhm.
So do you, as a township, you're gonna benefit something out of it, through your funds, or?
The people who pay for the spot,
Mhm.
who gets that money?
That's one of the questions we have.
Yeah, that's the question that we have.
Mhm.
Pretty big question.
Yeah.
What's in it for the
And what we
township?
would be charging them for the vendor spots.
Right now, we don't have a fee set up for that. So they have to discuss what they want to do on their board for that. And then bring that request up to us to amend our fee schedule. We don't get a lot of these requests.
Well, it sounds like the next thing is for you guys to have your meeting
Yes.
to iron out all these
Mhm.
problems. and
Yes.
Move on. Anything else, Karen?
I have a question.
Yes.
One of the questions is, will you be serving food or beverage? The answer is yes, and then comment looking for a vendor. So now if they have a vendor, then that vendor will be selling food. Is that going to be competing with the concession stand for the?
The concession stand will already be used, yes, for the games. So that's also going to be a problem for her event.
And any other issue with another vendor selling food up here? I'm just asking.
I would say yes.
Is June 1st feasible? Because you have to have your meeting, by the time the board has their meeting, June 1st, is there going to be enough time for them to put everything together and for it to be organized respectfully? It's calling it close,
Mhm.
real close. Can the date be moved to July instead of June, or later in June?
We've had no reply back from her since she handed this request in. So we don't have any answers from her
Yeah,
or
that
for
seems
her
like a lot
until
of
she.
jumping in such a period of time.
Is this from an individual or is she
Yes.
representing
Yes.
a group or another organization? It just needs space.
Company organization that says it's embellished decor.
Yeah, and supposedly to raise money for autism. It says that on the second page, I think.
Never heard
To
of
benefit the
it.
Autism Society Greater Harrisburg Area Chapter.
So she's doing it as a fundraiser for something else.
Mhm.
Yes.
Normally, when someone calls up to want to rent the pavilion, it's a donation. But this isn't an individual renting the pavilion. So there's questions.
Well, you have a rate fee, don't you, rental fee
For the rooms.
within the building?
Mm-hmm. This room say it's 25, you want the whole big room, it's 75.
Per day.
So the
Yeah.
question I have, Henry, is what would be
Yeah.
the appropriate amount for charging?
No, that's your choice, that's your board's decision.
That's your board's decision. Okay? You people need to iron it out. You need to get a hold of her as quickly as possible, see if you can't get a meeting set.
Yeah, we are trying, we're getting no response back from her, that's all we've heard from her is handing this in.
Okay. Okay?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes, and one more quick thing. I have been in contact with a band which has been playing for 40-some years. It's called the Nightlife Band. It's a country western band. And they also play with 3 other different bands, a bluegrass, a jazz band, and a light rock band. And they would like to come up and use the park as a community day, free music, afternoon and night of music. They aren't charging anything. It's basically a night just for everybody, or a day for everybody to get together. It's open to the public, to have a concert. And we're going to speak with DAGSA to see, or the girls softball, if they would run the concession stand, and the profit that they get from that would go to them. And just to have a community day, it'd be open to the public to come up, sit and listen to the band for the afternoon and evening.
Sounds like you got some more details to get squared away. Okay.
That one doesn't have a date yet.
Huh?
That one doesn't have a
Does
date.
not have a date yet.
Okay. Well, I'd say pursue with your wishes. Thank
So we're
you.
just trying to get people out here, you know, to the park and get use of the park and the pavilions and just to draw some people to the area. And they're up in Shippensburg and Newville, where the bands and the people in the bands would be coming from.
Okay.
So they asked if they could use our site here for a free day of music. So once we get all the details and times and vendors and the advertising, everything together, I'll bring everything back to the board and let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Invite Mayor Thompson to, that she can see with the people that she's dealing with.
That's all I have now.
Okay, Penn Township Municipal Authority. No parking ordinance?
It's been advertised, just needs adopted.
I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2013-3.
I think Rich needs to confirm, all right? We
I
all
saw
good with it?
Yeah, we're okay.
Okay. I'll second that motion. All those in favor give the consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We'll get the signed order and get them up.
Okay. And then you have a letter of resignation from the authority, Mr. Crumley.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept Stan Cumley's resignation. Issued his reasons, family health issue, work hours changing. Sorry to lose him. Motion made with second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it. Favor. Secretary's report, members first credit union.
CC doesn't have anything to say?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm sure there will be after next week.
Okay. Members First Credit Union is requesting a release of their letter of credit. It's been a year since the bank's been in. It's normal. It's $326,900. Normally, you have Max go out and check
I
the
was gonna
place.
say, you ready to take a look at it, Max?
Yeah, if you want me to go out and take a look at it, I'll do that.
Okay,
Back to you for next month.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing I have is the Act 44 compliance. According to the auditor for our pension plans, we need to have a procedures for compliance with professional services contract provisions of Act 44. Basically, it says how we're going to go look for somebody to take care of our pension plan. We haven't had it yet. She says we need it.
Did they- oh, yeah.
You should have one in there, but-
Where we go with it, Helen?
Accept it or not, or put it on?
There's a proposed resolution
Yeah,
that,
have you looked at it?
that's, I would suggest at this point in time that you,
Table?
no, not table, recommend it to be advertised for the next meeting.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we advertise it for the next meeting. Ellen?
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, if it was in favor, give it consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
The only thing else is information. We got our dividend checks for our workers' comp and our regular. And then you have the minutes and reports that came out of cap tax.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay, engineer's report before you?
You should have a copy of my report. There's not a lot that changed on it. Several items have not changed. The one item that we have done, and we've had this month, was business campus traffic signal review. We took a look at the correspondence from Will Cameron concerning the traffic signal shop drawing submittal, and have provided a comment letter back to you, a memo back to you with our comments concerning the shop drawings and his letter.
Okay, is that everything, Max?
That's all I have.
Okay.
My question is, do we forward this?
I'm gonna take it to the meeting tomorrow morning.
Good.
Police report.
We have our copy of our workload for the month. And we also took our one SUV down for inspection, and they changed the oil and replaced the headlight module. And we had no bill. It's kind of nice with new vehicles being warranted and everything, but they paid for the inspection and the oil change. I was notified today that the parade permit was, PennDOT approved the parade permit, and they're gonna be sending that out probably either tomorrow or Friday. We also had one officer left completely and can't work part-time jobs, and two other officers took full-time jobs, which cuts their time considerably. We did interviews last week and this week, and we've come up with four persons that we'd like to offer part-time positions to. One is Melinda Lancaster. She's formerly from York. She was a York City police officer, so she has all her training and she's ready to go. The only thing she would have is the just the orientation as far as how we do things and how her geography and everything. Also a Sean Stake. He's currently actually in the academy. He's going to be getting out in a month, and he would be available probably the month preceding that. Jason Kleck, he was a former police officer at 2 other departments. He's also a instructor at Police Academy and at Penn State University and Shippensburg University. So he'd be fully trained too and ready to start, except for his geography and how we do things up here. And the other one would be Wesley Fadouk. He hasn't had any experience elsewhere, but looks good on his resume to start. So those 4 individuals I'd like to give conditional employment to, providing they pass the background investigation and all their other tests and get their moped card.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. I would like to concur with the recommendation on the officers they have selected according to the interviews and make a motion to give them permission to put them on board.
I'll second that.
Motion made to second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Thank you.
Question, how much per hour?
I think that's all built in, into the contract with Duncan. Is that not set in place?
Same price.
That's set in place.
Same as,
Whether,
Not as a part-time officer, not as a probationary officer. Same,
Probationary.
it's $14.50 to start it at.
that's what I needed to know.
And then if they once they complete their probation, they get go to 16 or 17.
17,
So
okay.
Rick, where are we advertising for these?
we actually had those the last
Yeah, I
most
found
recent
out.
applications that we have from
I found out after I read
Still
that.
available?
Yeah. And then the usually the police academies, if anybody's still looking for jobs, they usually contact the police academies and say they are.
Solicitor's report?
May I begin to report by, first of all, extending my personal and my family's thank you to the township. Last week at this time, we laid my father to rest, and the outpouring from the township was gratifying. The township sent a very nice bouquet. Several people came to the service, and I want to personally thank everybody, and my family does too. It was very thoughtful to do that. Now, what I have under my report is as follows. I wrote a letter April 19th indicating that Act 187 has been passed. I don't know that you have to worry about it, but it's just a general reminder. If we have any motor vehicle ordinances in the township, and if a court of competent jurisdiction ever declares those ordinances invalid, you have 40 days from the declaration of invalidity in order to amend the ordinance or repeal it. Otherwise, the penalty is they can withhold liquid fuels. This is designed to try to cause those smaller municipalities that set up speed traps and various and sundry other motor vehicle violations by way of local ordinances to stop doing that and allow the vehicle code to control. I'm not sure we have any concern in this township, but I want to bring it up. The second thing that we need clarification, and I just think this is a simple oversight. At the last meeting, there was a discussion concerning mid-Penn resources and the fencing. And we got a letter indicating we should take the next step, but unfortunately, reviewing the minutes, I just think it was an oversight. The minutes, if I can read them, and I'll explain why I think it's an oversight and what we'll need to do to correct it. Solicitor recommended if no action be taken to correct the issue by the deadline, a final 5-day notice be issued with an injunction to be filed at the end of that period of time if there's no compliance. On a Holman Novinger motion, it was approved to send the 5-day notice. no direction to follow up with an injunction in the event that there is non-compliance. And I think it's just a simple oversight, but I don't want, when we file this, a procedural glitch to cause it to be thrown out. I just need direction from the board authorizing the filing of an injunction.
I'm glad you make that motion, Richard. It's been on long enough down there. We need to get these people in compliance or shut them down.
I think it was intended the last time, but it
Yes.
unfortunately
That
just,
was the intention, I assure you.
it just didn't come out that way, and I don't want
I'll make the
create that
motion, we give
procedural
the
glitch.
solicitor the go-ahead to file the injunction in regards to that issue.
And then the last issue, I'm sorry,
I'll second that.
First read, the second,
Jumping
all
the gun.
those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
the last issue has to do with an issue concerning vesting. The Auditor General has contacted the township indicating we need to take a look at Act 600 and the vesting language in there and make sure our ordinance complies with that vesting. I'll send the language over to Helen right out of the act so that she can pass it on to our plan administrator for purposes of amending the ordinance accordingly.
Okay, Rich, that concludes your report. At this time, while the solicitor is still here, I talked to him previously about that. We get into old business to new business, and there's people want to bring things up under old business to new business, which I feel should be done underneath the visitors report. Is there anybody out here that has anything to bring up underneath old or new business while our solicitor is still here? Yes, Stanley?
Earlier, when you were talking about grants for the police department during three-month construction in town here to do the bridge, is that, did I hear you right for extra officers on each end of the bridge?
That'd be one extra.
Yeah, one extra.
Well, one extra.
Yeah, what they were talking about down there, Stanley, was in regards to an emergency down here. They're gonna need, like going out Ann Street with fire engines and et cetera, that you're going to need traffic control and it needs to be of the proper people, et cetera. And so I made a request at the meeting that night, if there was funds available, because if one of them's in court or one of them's at a hearing, you know, during these times, that they have that. And they said, yes, they do that. And they would take a look into it. It looked really favorable that they're willing to give us something to help us along during that 3-month period. And so they were very willing to extend the olive branch out there to get this process going down here, to get this bridge going. But they have not given us a deadline on it, and we don't know whether we'll get that or not. There was a request made by myself here, and they indicated that they were willing to come forward, or that they probably would. Looks good. I felt it was real positive, didn't you, Brett?
Yes, it's due to the detour and stuff, that there's more use of the police complement when they're doing this, and they normally do give the police, the local police or the state police, extra money for extra patrols in that area, just to do any accident reports that would happen, and they're being taken from a larger road to a smaller road and stuff like that. So,
I guess my question was, you know, we have 2 firehouses.
Yeah.
On each end.
And this is, go ahead.
But we only have one EMS building at the other end of the township. So they're gonna have to travel back roads to get also. And if there's any extra money from the state where they can set up, an temporary EMS building in town, so they could have people that could be right there to help people in town, rather than going out the back roads and fighting traffic and that type of thing.
Well, that's the purpose of that, I guess, maybe to throw a little more light on it. PennDOT wants the detour to get down here and go up the ramp, come back around and come back into Duncannon. They're gonna post these signs out here so people don't get down Gambers, so they don't clog up Cumberland, so they don't clog up. You catch that, Greg, down there? So that in an emergency, that everybody doesn't go down there, they're gonna post those signs, and if PennDOT posts them, then they can be enforced by the police department. If they're gonna ask that type of enforcement from it, I ask for more money to cover it. And that was the reason why they're doing that. They realize that they got a bottleneck once they get down to Creek Road to go back into town. Very, very narrow. And how to get fire engines out there. And it may end up that for a period of time that they have to do something with traffic in Duncannon to open those corridors up for the emergency services. And so we're all working on that to make sure that that happens, that it doesn't become a bottleneck. And anyway, you take a look at it, the ball's in their court, and we're trying to work it out with them the best we can. So far, I found it very positive.
And the borough's also, I believe, going to allow parking of an ambulance inside.
We had approached Mr. Baumberger at the meeting on Thursday, last Thursday, because there was an ambulance in the borough until the end of 2011, and or an emergency vehicle, and we have 12 or 13 crew members that live in town or on that side of the bridge. The intention being not so much for our scheduled ambulance or our primary ambulance out, because that ambulance is typically staffed on station, but for second and third due ambulance calls, having the crew, having to take that route out and then having to take that route back in. So we made the request for cover. It's probably going to be a summertime project, and some of the medications and such we carry can't be exposed to 100 degree, in the sun, and electric as a shoreline to charge the vehicle. So Mr. Baumberger took that under advisement, and I believe is going to try to make some space in a garage or something that the borough has for exactly that purpose.
Okay, while Rich is here, I have an item that I definitely want to bring on because of legal ramifications of it while he's here. It's underneath old business. It was brought up last month underneath old business, and it made the newspaper. I don't agree with everything the lady said, but...
Am I the lady?
Yeah, you're the lady, okay.
At least I still call you a lady.
So, and it's in regards to, and I have something to offer to this, you try not to be argumentative, and I tried to prove that last month that it's not in the best interest to do. And we're saying that Perdix Fire Company is getting bounced back and forth as to what to do with the hookup on this thing down here at the Eagle's Nest. There is an agreement that was conducted and agreed to by the fire company way back when, that when sewer come to that area, they would hook up. Now they say we don't know what to hook up to. This seems to be the problem. They don't know what to hook up to. Tell us what we're to hook up to, because there's nothing there to hook up to. I will use personal experience, by golly, in what I worked at all my life. And I worked in an awful lot of places, by golly, where they installed sewer. And back in the 60s, I will use West Fairview as an example. When they sewered West Fairview was a pretty rough, shodden town. An awful lot of poor people, and an awful lot of people that had a tough time making ends meet down there. A lot of those people had nothing but outhouses. They had nothing there. And the sewer come through, and how they're going to handle this. Well, sewer was through. They had to hook up. And they had abandoned their outhouses. And the sewer was available. Just like we have sewer down there, according to the agreement, I think you will find, and maybe Mr. Wagner will agree with me, maybe he won't. The intention was that you'll take care of that, and you would put the facility in there to do that. Now, there was a lot of things that cover that down there, and one of them we have here, in the interest of protecting public property. And how will this come from where?
Zoning ordinance.
Zoning ordinance. And so this has been an oversight for years that nobody directed this to be done. So I saw those people come in down there to the contractor and to the person that I worked for. And they come in. And I donated some time, and so did the people in Fairview there where we had the hardware store. I worked for Urban Heifer, heating, plumbing, and air conditioning at that time. And many a person, we went to their back porch and put a toilet there and put a wash basin there and helped those people out, and they come in and paid $1, $1.50. You say, it doesn't sound like much. I was only making $1.50 myself, 9 hours a day, 6 days a week at that time. But those people had to get off of their sewer. It's law, it's a requirement, and so they had to do that. And they came in down there, and many one of them I put in until they got money and boarded it up, and etc. I saw them with tarps around their porch. So the issue down here, there's nothing there to hook up. The issue is we don't have nothing to hook up. The requirement would be to put something there to hook up to. And in your zoning ordinance, it says, in the interest of protecting public health, safety, and welfare, every premise used in the whole or in part of the dwelling, commercial or recreational businesses or industrial purposes shall be provided with both a safe and sanitary water supply, a minimum of 1 bathroom per premise, and a safe and sanitary means of collection and disposal of commercial and industrial waste. Such facilities shall conform to the minimum requirements set forth by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. Now, it states in this letter, and I've heard it many times from the Representative Perdix, that we're willing to hook up and we're willing to do this, but we don't know where what to hook up to. So you people need to build a bathroom, in my mind. I'm 68 years old, Bob. I'll do the same thing I did for Perdix Fire Company before when I brought my backhoe down there and dug the ditch and done it for you and helped you put your pipe in for nothing. And I got at least one more bathroom in this old body that I'll put it in for you for free.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Where you're at and what we've been asking is you have a job trailer sitting on there with wheels on it. Where that's gonna end up, we don't know. When you went through with the sewer, a request was made and you put 2 hookups in there in the event that we build a building, that we put a permanent structure in, that then we would have the hookups and they were going to be used. And now, right now, we don't know what the use is gonna be on that property.
Okay. So you don't know what the use is going to be. But it's clear here that if you're going to put something in with any one of those uses, what you have to have.
Exactly.
So I guess what you have to do is put a bathroom in, and the municipal authority has done their part at last month's meeting saying it has to happen. All we did was send out a letter of connect to be in compliance ourselves as the Board of Supervisors. There was nobody there trying to hurt anybody, but to be seen that was the same that everybody else that had those notices sent to them, you were no different from it, because people say, we had to do it, why don't they have to?
Yeah, I've heard
And
that
the
many times.
agreement was made by the fire company itself that they would do that. It's on record, it's been here for a long time.
The agreement, just for the point of the record, that agreement was made when and by who?
I think you'll find that agreement was made with Mr. Schaefer and probably through the municipal authority. It's here, it's on record. Helen has it here, I dug up all the past history on it. There was an agreement that when storage is available.
Henry, okay.
The sewer,
Does-
when the sewer was made in 1996, it was Mr. Kerwin that made that agreement. We had a member of the board said that she's not in a position to have her
Okay.
tenants make agreements for her.
And I guess what I'm hearing is from your representative, and I've heard it on this floor many times, we don't have no problem doing this, we just don't know what to hook up to.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
You
We
need
don't
to-
have a business in there to require
somewhere
one
in
yet.
But you're gonna put one and then you'll have to have it.
We have.
You're here tonight wanting that.
You know, we haven't
You're
made up
here,
our mind.
are you not here tonight wanting to put a business in there? When you do, you'll have to comply, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
The equipment and
So
everything. is ready to
meanwhile,
go.
the grinder pump and everything else, by golly, can already be started to be installed.
Right, it's ready to go,
Okay.
but when we get an okay for.
It
business,
seems
it's
like,
ready to be put in.
seems like you come to a solution that's what's going to take place.
Yeah, that's exactly
Okay,
it.
then, you know, the comment that I'm on here right now was the comment that was made after the meeting last night that you enjoyed what took place. And what were the exact words, Helen?
Did you enjoy the fun?
Yeah, did you enjoy the fun, by golly, in that conversation that took place between. I'll never engage in another one like that because it's not needed. And I beg not to let that happen. And so here we are tonight.
Supervisor's minutes.
Sounds like we have a resolution to the problem. You agree, I would ask you to move forward, Bob. And I'll do anything I can to help you guys get it done.
It's,
Won't cost you a penny.
it's not gonna cost us a penny either, because
Okay.
the individual coming in to do the
Okay.
business has agreed to do that.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that back up, make it part of the record, that agreement and et cetera was done when storage came here.
1996.
1996, the agreement was it would be hooked up.
Ironically, April 24th, 1996.
Yeah. So there it is. And that's all we're trying to do is you, just like those people down in West Fairview, you know, I think you'll even find that Duncannon had those same situations years ago. A lot of people had outhouses, they had to give them up, and believe me, it was hard for them to do. So, you know, unfortunately, it is what it is. Let's not try to make it something that it's not. That's all. Yes, Stanley?
I commend Duncan Record for writing that article, because guess what? On the back and forth that you guys did all this time, by golly, as you say, Henry, she writes an article, they put it in the record, tonight, all of a sudden, we come to a thing. You hold up a piece of paper, and say, here it is, here's what we have to do.
Because,
No, I'm just saying, I'm making a statement, Henry. Thank God the article was written, because you held it up, here it is, here's what needs to be done, let's get it done, boom, end of story.
and you were trying not to be argumental, trying not to let it get to that
I
point when,
understand that, but it's nice to see that after all this time, you have the piece of paper that could have been done months ago.
and usually that is done when it comes into our office and everything handed out, Stanley.
I
And
understand all that, but it's just nice that
Yeah.
tonight you,
and so it took the
it's done.
time.
You told them, here it is, do it,
Right.
let's get it over.
Why wasn't that done 6 months ago, or 4 months ago, or 2 months ago?
That's what I'm saying.
And the clear choice, am I correct that I think it's.
Well, if you remember, I did bring up, there was an agreement.
There's no bathroom in there?
Mr. Wagner even commented on this very
That's
issue one night.
construction.
No, there's no sewer line up there.
Oh, is that, okay, all right.
What did she say?
And so this was
We're
addressed earlier, Nancy, and so, you know, you go back, there's other things that makes it compliant out here that's outside of us, but I spent the time and went and dug this all up, because I thought it really, all we had to it was to serve the notice. Serve the notice to hook up. The rest fell down the hall. And then, because I can't help what the municipal authority does or says down here, they bounce it back to me, which it should have never come bounced back to me. I tried to resolve it and get in a heated argument, which I'll never allow myself to get in another one over something like that again. And since then, Henry sat down and we dug this up, and I went back into everything I could find to try to find a resolution here tonight that everybody's right. And Bob, you understand now? And that's my best effort that I could do. You need to go back down the hall and work with those people to get it in.
Right, I understand all that, I'm
That's right.
saying, it's just nice that the record sort of brought it to a head.
Yeah.
Thank
And-
God for the newspaper to bring that stuff out, get it to a head, now it's done. Now they know what to do, you told them what they have to do, now too, we won't hear
Well,
this
let's get
every
it
month.
straight. I didn't
Be
bounce them
nice.
back and forth.
I don't care who bounced, they were still bouncing.
I did.
You know, they were still bouncing, so.
If it got bounced back and forth, it came back. The only thing I said, we had the send a notice out. And from there, they asked us to tell them what to hook up. I
So
shouldn't
then-
even be in this conversation tonight. But I done it, by golly, for the purpose of trying to resolve it and hope that it carries from here down the hall to the meeting Wednesday night.
As soon as there's a business to go in there, it will be hooked up. That was a given back when. Mr. Swope did not have the money to do it. The lease was set up, that's the,
And so you're working towards that, Bob, you know what you're working towards, and it's going to happen.
right.
Okay, so we know it's gonna happen, you're here tonight, wanting to know about that, and I believe it will.
Oh, definitely, because if
Okay.
you're gonna have a business in there, you're gonna have
I
to
offered
do it.
my help.
But where we gotta do is come to some type of agreement on how to get the business in there.
Okay.
That was my question. Since you're all talking about this, what does have to be done to get a business in there? I mean, there's
Okay.
been a lot of going around.
That was addressed earlier in the meeting
Yes.
when the
Conditional use.
zoning
I
officer.
wrote that down.
Okay, well then, that's what has to be
So
done.
there's 3 things that has to be followed through with, and I think if I wrote it down correctly, it was the land development plan, that still stands. You need a land development plan.
Well, the applicant filed a request for a zoning permit with the zoning officer, and he denied the permit on March the 14th. If the applicant didn't like that decision, the applicant could have filed an appeal within 30 days to say, that's a bad decision. I don't like that decision. I don't want to do what you said I have to do. I don't think I have to. Well, they didn't do that, and because they failed to file an appeal, Now they are in a position, in order to be able to get that zoning permit, they'll have to comply with what the zoning officer said needs to be done.
And the zoning permit is because this construction wants to come in here to sell equipment, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, which is a conditional use under the commercial district in our zoning ordinance.
Okay, so they did not do,
A conditional use yet.
okay, so that has to be done.
Yes, if they want to sell construction equipment on that lot.
Okay, and then you said the third was compliance?
Compliance with the section 1623, which is supplemental regulations for a construction sales.
And all of this has to be done before the toilet can be hooked up to the job trailer, is that correct?
I don't know that.
Well, that's my.
I just think I don't know that answer.
CC when they wouldn't. All of this has to be done before the toilet can be hooked up in the job trailer, is that correct?
The answer to the question is not necessarily, which is a great lawyer answer.
Well,
If somebody
yes or
comes in,
no?
if somebody comes in with a use that is not, they don't need to go through a conditional use application, comes in with a use, then when they get that permit, they'll have to hook up the.
But first and foremost, is the priority not to have a bathroom on the lot? Is that not what started this?
Right.
With the
Correct.
prior,
For the
with
most
the
part.
prior leasee on the
Right.
property.
So if we go ahead and start and put a bathroom on the lot, is that okay without these three being done?
That's two different issues. though.
Correct, but I'm asking. So if somebody starts tomorrow and says, we're gonna start the hookup because Jody's already said, we will pay to have it done. If someone starts to put the bathroom in, does somebody have to do something, or can they just start tomorrow and start to hook
Well, they
the
would have to
bathroom
get a building permit to do it.
Not,
To hook up. They'll have to get a building permit, they have to get the sewer permit.
They have to do,
Um,
have to build a building, some major.
And it depends whether you are going to put it someplace that's inside the frame now.
Well, there's two hookups if I'm not mistaken. There's two spots. So, and the trailer's on wheels, so we can pick a spot, correct? We can put it anywhere we want?
Was that second location found?
I believe there was a photo given to him that showed both. Big
Okay, I
aerial
under-
view thing that we had.
Okay,
given.
because I understand Sam went on site and could not find the one connection.
No, we located him, I helped.
Yeah.
Did
I
find-
helped,
okay.
we located the,
But
if
just,
you go up to where the old green, carport was setting, you'll find the green,
don't know the
paint
answer
that
to
we
that question.
located, the second one is about that
They
deep.
could put the bathroom
What
anywhere.
the
I would assume
situation,
they want it in an office, but I don't know.
on the original application, it was put in by the intended tenant.
Mm-hmm.
And it was turned down because he wasn't the one to do the,
No, it was denied
denied,
because the commercial sales, commercial vehicle sales is a conditional use, and Lenny said you also need a land development plan, and to comply with 1623, which is a supplementary requirements.
with the farm and.
Yeah.
But where the situation of my confusion on it is that it come back that I was told that the tenant was not the one to make the request. Did it come back that the fire company was the one that should have been making the request up front?
And who told you
So the
this?
waiver was put in to try to overcome that step and get rid of that requirement for the conditional use and the land development plan because of the excessive expense.
The waiver for a land development plan under the saldo, which is the first condition that he denied you under, would have nothing to do with the conditional use. Conditional use is a totally different thing. One's under the subdivision land development plan, and one's under the zoning plan, ordinance.
So if,
Every time a business changes hands there, I gotta do a land development plan.
No,
No.
no.
question, so that's my question.
not what I said.
If this company that wants to come in
Mm-hmm.
drops the heavy equipment, it's no difference than what was there before, they'd be approved.
And with or without a bathroom.
No, they have to put the
The
bathroom.
bathroom's totally different.
Let me
The
just,
bathroom,
let me just make one observation.
Take the bathroom out of the equation.
No, let me make one observation as a caveat, because it continues to occur year in and year out, not necessarily with this particular case. But this began in 1996, when somebody came in and said, please, please help me. This is gonna be a real hardship on me. Please kind of relieve me so I don't have to spend this money to put a sewer system in. Please, please, please. And the supervisors then, in response to the request not to have to comply with the regulations, said, yeah, go ahead. But when we get sewer in there, put it in. Here we are 17 years later, and it began with a board that tried to help somebody who pleaded, cut me a break. So you understand when people come into the municipalities, whether it be this board, whether it be a zoning hearing board or a borough council, you understand why people are reluctant to grant waivers, to grant relief from regulations, because it comes back to bite you know where every time. And we've had debates to the point there have been serious arguments. I've been through some months in the past. Henry, apparently the last meeting, all because somebody asked for a break 17 years ago. 17 years ago, it specifically says, you put it in when you get sewer. End of report. There shouldn't be questions. Where do we put it? How do we put it? What kind of use? Do we need a land development plan? Do we need a conditional use? It specifically says, I agree as the person who owns the property, who has a business here, when it comes in, I'll put it in. End of report.
But Rich, nearly every meeting I know that I come to, there are waivers and or variances approved.
There's no question
for
about
people. So
there's
it continues.
there's
So
no
the problem that you're talking, which I hear you, it's still happening. It didn't stop in '96.
there's no question. But you understand why at some point boards can say, we're not granting, I represent one board in another county. You can't get anything. If you're not in compliance with the regulations, boom, you don't get waivers.
Understood, but all the other waivers and variances, I don't recall too many, if any, that have been denied in the course of all of this.
Saw one tonight, Nancy, going to the zoning hearing board.
Okay, that's one.
Okay,
I said, you know.
There's a lot of other ones that we go through, that the very same thing. If you want me to spend a couple days' time, I'll go back and dig them up for you. I'm pretty busy, but I'm glad to do that.
Denials don't bother with that.
I'd be glad to do
But
that.
the denials still outnumber.
Some of those conditional uses and some of those variances are granted, each one in ways a little bit different in a different manner. And this one here is going back to the recommendation line. You've got a couple things to do. It is not anything that's any different than a lot of other people go through.
And you have to understand, the original permit application was for a change of use.
Change of use, and that's what it
So,
was for.
but dropping the sewer, not an issue. We know it has to be done. If they come back and change, take that requested additional use out,
If they,
it's the
If
same
the
thing
zoning
going in.
officer reviews it and gives it approval, he gives it approval.
Because it's property for property, it's the same thing going in
If
and out.
it's up to the zoning officer to make that call. We can't sit here tonight and say yes or no. That's up to the zoning officer to look at the application, make the determination.
Did we ever find out where the fifth wheel down there at the, whatever that thing is dumping? Did we ever find that out?
oh, that's on, Ford's. Lenny, I thought I gave you guys that email. Lenny, said that have their own storage tank on the fifth wheel, and there's nothing on the ground, there's no piping going anywhere. It's being contained there and emptied out of there, whether by pumping or something else, I don't know.
Okay, so Lenny's taking a look at that, was his report.
Mm-hmm.
I personally want to get down to see, I personally will ask as to where it's going. If they're using it, it's going somewhere.
Yes.
So why did we approve
What's
that
that?
then with, so why don't we require, I mean, you're gonna have the fifth wheeler, it's like a clear choice. Why are we approving places that don't have proper indoor plumbing?
Because
Whether
Clear
we
Choice,
have-
there's
if you have-
nowhere to hook up to. The line does not go
Okay,
that far.
I'm just gonna, if I could finish, Cece. If there's no sewer available, then why not, can't we require a sand mound or a septic tank or something else that other places, not every
They
place
are
has
meeting their
sewers,
requirements.
but not every place has outhouses,
Appalachian Auto is meeting their requirements.
which is,
I don't know off the top of my head, but that's a municipal authority matter, which I'm not gonna get into here. But I do know that they are in compliance.
With no indoor plumbing,
Right, because they have no, what do they hook to?
septic tank, soup.
Henry isn't in compliance with the sewer because it doesn't run at his house. What's the difference? If the pipe doesn't run there,
Do
you
you
can't
understand what
collect it.
septic tank is? That would be an
Nancy, I am
alternative to
not
a sewer.
stupid.
Well,
I
then
used
don't
to
talk
have
me
a
like I
septic
am.
tank.
Thank you.
It's real easy, where do they poop and pee at?
They have facilities on the property.
That's all you had to say, Cece, they have an outhouse or they have a.
I said they were in compliance. That word means they're okay.
Thank you, Cece, I wasn't
You're
sure about
welcome.
that one.
Any further questions on that, I suggest you take them to the municipal authority. This is not the forum for that. I've said that before in this meeting.
Okay. That being said, Bob, let's work towards a resolution of it.
Okay, now, what our concern is again, it goes back to the leasing, the man that's doing the renting is gonna do the hookup, and he's gonna provide that which was provided in the past. We just have to get somebody in there to do that, until we have a tenant, at the vacant lot. And the condition is, it's very hard for me to understand how a land development plan is gonna take care of 300 foot of no change. Nothing's gonna change there, to go to all this expense to come up with a land development plan, to come up with all of this other activities that just gonna move in and go, because there's a change on the property where to cut them 2 curbs off the front so that they weren't barriers for moving cars around on it, you know.
Let's stick to the sewer issue, Bob. I beg you to do that. You know, it would seem to me that if you put a bathroom on there and put a facility there, the place would be worth more, it'd be a lot more easier runnable, and it'd be valuable. That is correct.
Sam and I had that discussion
Okay.
while we were digging the holes down there.
I have one other thing, I don't want to hold Solicitor Wagner up here, I do have another thing that I'm going to report, and then if there isn't anything else, then after he leaves, I'm not going to enter no more questions or take any more questions under old business or new business. As always, I finally got through the final, last, and the 4th meeting from the Perry County Economic Development Strategy, session number 4. And of course, this was something that they put into effect, or they wanted to, and I can understand Commissioner Paul Rudy's activities that he wanted to try to do and what he tried to promote. And so the overview of the other day's activity was tourism, retail, Main Street, industrial, commercial, and a summary and next steps. Now, I was to those meetings and I had a lot of conversation with a lot of other people in regards to that. And they put a plan out here this last time, and I'd be glad to let everybody know that when there's an idea brought before the board here, many a time I don't dismiss it. I pursue it, I look at it, see whether it's worth something, and whether it can be put to use. The strength that they have this for all Perry County. And of course, I tried to inject and talk into a little bit about it for Penn Township and the differences in our township compared to a lot of other municipalities. They listed the strength as the workforce in the county, quality of life, and transportation and highway access. Our weaknesses were lack of infrastructure, including fiber. Well, incidentally, there is fiber coming to our area. They're in the process. Took a look at the plan today. It'll soon be here. In this area all over. Electric grid, sewer, and water. Yes, most places have that. Maybe not sewer, but they have it, and especially up along the main highway situation. Lack of population density anywhere in the county. They listed that as a weakness. Well, and the weakness, when you get talking about that, the weakness comes that they feel that there isn't a density population enough for some of the type of business they like to see, like i.e. we like to see a nice big restaurant or whatnot. Are people going to run to Harrisburg to come up here to support a big fancy place? Some will, some won't. And the other thing on the weaknesses, Perry County is what it is. We have no major attractions to bring tourists in that maybe support tourists here for a day or two that a hotel or a lodging place, which I heard so much about, would take place. There's nothing here to keep them, like no caves. They don't have any unusual natural wonders to attract people. We have what we have, open space, park up at Blaine and some mountains, etc. So there was an awful lot of discussion about this and how to do this, and if they want to set up a committee, and they're going to, question is, where are they going from here? The opportunities that they list for location, part of Harrisburg, Carlisle. Workforce, land open space, outdoor tourism, state, hunting, fishing. Not enough, by golly, to promote some of the things they'd like to see. Appalachian Trail doesn't do much for the businesses either as it comes through here. Quaint downtowns, communities, Main Street type retail, agriculture, light manufacturing, expansion from Dauphin and Cumberland counties. Yes, your expansion is taking place out in Carroll Township, coming over the mountain. It's coming up across here in the 322 area and up 11 and 15 coming back in. They also talk about the line that once you get beyond New Bloomfield and head in western and northern Perry County, nobody wants it. Period. They just don't want to see it. And that was quite a discussion on that. But there was a big thing to support your local businesses to grow and expand. The trouble of it is, how do you get people to support your local businesses when they're 10 cents more for an item and they'll run to Harrisburg for $2 worth of gas? All those discussions took place. It is tough. When you take a look, that's why the local businesses, at one time, I can quote 7, 8 different grocery stores in Duncannon. They were there. Threats, lack of infrastructure, resistance to change. Believe me, it's there. They want this, and then you have some people say they're glad to drive to Harrisburg, they're glad to go elsewhere to make their money, etc., and the overall economy. And I sat here and I thought of a presentation that Mr. Peters made here several months ago about out in Pueblo, Colorado. And he said that this was pretty much an area or similar to that out there. And so I thought, you know, maybe there's some good ideas there. And this item here was discussed as to whether they, an awful lot of talk about how do we get people off of 11 and 15 in Penn Township, and how do you work around the railroad, and how do you work around the river and whatnot. We got one access down here, and it's probably the best at its worst, it's the best, you know what I'm saying? And it goes nowhere when you get off. No room to put a business of anything, houses both sides goes into Duncannon. That was all discussed at these meetings. And so I took a look at Pueblo, Colorado, to see if there was anything to use. And of course, in Pueblo, Colorado, the money that they use comes from a half-cent sales tax. Voters have reauthorized several times to attract prospective businesses. Sounds good. I agree. You made that statement, and I thought, you know, it's worth looking into. Is there something there? But I'm sure that for the board to pass something like that in a small municipality. And when you take a look at the overall in Pueblo, Colorado, well, it didn't quite conform to Penn Township. Their police budget's $25 million. 25 million. There are 45 square miles, 100 and some thousand population, and of the budget, 24 million, 93.51% is dedicated to personnel costs, including salaries and benefits, $1,684,260. 6.4% is dedicated to daily operating needs such as fuels for the cars. And the crime rate in Pueblo, Colorado was amazing, is higher than the national average. They have 700 and some people on their payroll right there. And so some of these issues I took up there could just be done on a limited scale in Penn Township. These people that were doing this are not dummy. They've already been there, much to my surprise. You thought you would offer something like that. And in regards to Vesta's incentives, top $31 million. $31 million we're putting in to bring business in here. And when you take a look at it, you know, when you get right down to that, to hire 450 people. And it was all said and done what the municipalities gave and every bit of money they put out there. The project's incentive computes to costing $70,000 per job. $70,000. The share paid by the city, county, and water agency amounts to approximately $51,000 per job. So I tried applying this to the committee and whatnot on a small scale in the same way, and it really, there is no way that Penn Township or Perry County can support that type of plan, even though I guarantee you it's been looked at as what they can do to bring economic development into the county. And there's a whole list of things here. The city's share is about $25,400 per job. That's comparable to $21,000 and $33,000 per job that the city paid for 76 jobs for the Professional Bull Riders Association when it moved to Pueblo in 2005. So these concepts are good, but the area and the population needs that it takes to support that, I assure you that I've done everything that I possibly could to bring these issues up and talk about some of these things. And I guess maybe some of them thought that I was a little bit way off, but the concept's there, and I listened to everything that someone says out there in regards to doing that.
But Mr. Holman, I
Yeah.
also quoted and stated, there's local communities such as Big Springs area where they have 4 or 5 municipalities that have come together and worked jointly.
Yeah.
Same environment as us, more open land than we,
Okay.
but they were able to get other communities, Wingfield,
Yeah.
whoever, to join in and develop the areas also. So, great ideas, but we gotta start somewhere. We have to start somewhere.
Well,
I'm not saying
what I'm
we're
getting at is
working
they're already being worked on. Those problems by God are already being worked on. I used this as analysis to see whether it fit into our area, our community, our county, and it hardly does, you know. You got a total population of 106,000, we're not anywhere close like that. So even the concept on a smaller scale was something that was listened to and heard. And so I just want you to know, we sit here, we accused of being not proactive and not working towards something like that. And I listen to all those things, and I do try to do my best to see that they get out there. And so we sit there and we listen, and Pueblo, Colorado today, the place there that's brought in there for the windmills, stocks are down, jobs are losing, it's the next steel mill, vacant steel mills all over the place, and the whole 9 yards. So we do our best, and there is an effort from this board to work with the county and those programs that they're trying to do for that.
Could you elaborate on what they are proposing to do? You know, what are those next steps that you?
Well, that's exactly, John, what I'll say here in regards to that, you know, the summary and that, you know, they give the summary, and then item number 5 is next steps with a question mark behind it. Okay? And this is a preliminary effort, by golly, that asked us to be involved, and I agreed to be involved, and I agreed to be the representative to go. So I took as many ideas that I've heard from people here on the floor. And I heard a lot of them on those 4 meetings from a lot of people that work at that. The biggest recommendation is to support the people that you have, that they continue to grow. The one key thing that they brought up, we can create all the zoning we want. We can create high density areas. We can create whatever you want, commercial areas. And if nobody wants to list it for sale for commercial or whatnot and wants to hang on the ground, there's no place to put these things. And that is a problem all over Perry County. I think Rich Weiger would be quick to tell you that nobody hangs on the ground any harder than what people do in Perry County.
Don't make it no more.
They don't make it no more. That is the big issue you got around here. Where do we have large parcels that's willing to be opened up and et cetera to do that? We see the developer up here that's had 32 extensions. Economy. One of the big things that they had up here in closing was overall economy right now is terrible for this. Mr. Yanks down the road up here and possibly up here. If he build them, he can't sell them. The economy, by golly, was discussed how to do that. So at the present time, you have to support your local community and your local businesses. But people have a tendency to want to run to Harrisburg, and that's why we don't have the mom and pops anymore.
So suffice it to say, is there a group that's going to be working?
Yes,
on
they
it?
are.
They are.
Yes, they are,
In other
John.
words, there is going to be a plan that are gonna try and develop something.
Well, they're going to
and
try
move
to
forward.
develop something, yes. And I said that as long as I was here, if they wished input, or if they wished me to attend, I would be glad to do that.
Will you keep us, posted?
I
on
will.
some of those
I
things?
think they're-
Because I think
they're-
that's what we've gotta try.
They got a call for a next meeting in 6 months. The commissioners are well aware of it, that they got a rough road hoe, there's nothing against that. So I wanted to bring that up while Rich was here, and et cetera. And at that, if there's nothing else to be brought up under old business, then all I'm trying to do is dispel arguments on the floor here and have professional advice for the issue there, which I hope we've finally got resolved. Richard, if you will, please, I will excuse you.
Thank you. One other thing I want to do. I saw in the news last night, in that gentleman's township, there was a church that burned down.
Yes.
One of the families that goes there was a friend of my father's. So I'm gonna ask to take whatever is was approved for my fee here, that it be sent to that church. Because I think that's what I should do.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
Very generous of you.
I don't know who the minister, the pastor is, but when I saw the news, the one family they interviewed, I knew it was a friend of my dad's, so maybe think that that could help maybe get the first board in place.
And thank you for that
Yep,
generous
yep,
offer.
yep, otherwise.
Thank you. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay?
Oh, anytime, Henry, you know
Max,
that.
thank you.
Call me.
Okay,
See
meeting's
ya.
not over yet. We have some correspondence before you. Any comments on the correspondence, Helen, or just correspondence?
No, the Pennsylvania Local Government Investments wants our proxy for our vote. That's
Okay.
And Perry Human Services is having town hall meetings on the youth survey overview, educating communities about drug and alcohol use among our youth.
Okay, we need a motion on the proxy vote.
Yes.
I make a motion that we vote proxy on the form, Helen.
I'll second that.
Second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Perry Human Services, for you.
We didn't do permit reports.
And we can go back.
Okay, permit reports are there before you. Anything to offer on that? Right there. Building permits?
No, this is all pretty straightforward stuff. CenturyLink got 2 permits.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, nothing else underneath the order of old business or new business? I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.